everybody. Welcome back to the MPF podcast. I'm your host, Brad Nordstrom, owner, operator of Maximum Performance and Fitness here in West Fargo, North Dakota.
And I'm Levi Nordstrom, majoring in communications at NDSU currently. And today we will be talking about supplements.
Holy smokes. This is going to be deep. There's a lot of info we're going to provide, and this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
Yeah, we're talking about, of course, creatine, protein powder, caffeine, and other potential supplements later on. But we're going to start with creatine right away. Creatine basically helps replenish energy for short burst, high intensity efforts like heavy lifts or sprinting by increasing muscle stores. Now, a positive of creatine has got strong evidence for increases in strength, power, and lean mass when combined with training. And then negative for creatine would be some people experience water retention or weight gain, mostly from increased muscle water.
There's a lot of information there. I mean, the positive and negative. Honestly, there's very few negatives with creatine, which is pretty cool. Creatine is one of the most studied and effective ergogenic aids for athletes. It's unbelievable, and I'm not talking about just going on a Google search. We're talking about going into PubMed and looking at all of the major publications, and it is unbelievable the data that they have out there for creatine. It's been studied for years.
Now, let's go back to before creatine was able to be supplemented. Now, how do people get creatine just from nature?
Well, you get your creatine from your animal products, your beef, your poultry, dairy type products. There's a little bit in some of the vegetarian, the vegetables. For example, spinach has a little bit of creatine, pumpkin seeds, quinoa. But you really don't get a whole lot from your diet. You're going to probably get 1 to 2 grams on an average diet. So that's what makes it super important as far as supplementation, especially for, not only the athletes or those that are trying to make gains in strength and performance, but even mental health too.
When you're taking creatine, how much is enough? Because, you say 1 to 2 grams of creatine with just an average diet. When you're taking it every day, what should your average serving be?
You can do a couple ways. The old school way is a loading phase. So you basically take 5 grams a day or 5 grams 4 times a day. So you do 20 grams for a good week. And then just to really saturate the muscle cells with that creatine. And then you would go into, they used to call it a maintenance phase or whatnot. And you would basically take 5 grams a day for as long as you want to take it. There's research coming out that basically says you do not have to, and this is actually, there's been more than this, but you don't have to do the loading phase. 3 to 5 grams a day for as long as you want to take it, you're going to get progress. More and more research is even bumping it up to 10 grams a day for those people that are looking for the brain health part of it. So, and we can get into that as we roll, but you can see anywhere from 3 grams minimum a day to upwards to 10 grams, even maybe a little bit more, depending on some heavy brain issues. So that's pretty cool.
Is there a limit to it if you're taking it to maintain, let's say, 5 grams a day for as long as you want? Is there a point where just your gains start to slow down? Do you reach a limit after a certain time period, or, your body just doesn't have the capacity to hold a certain amount of muscle gain? Or
no, I definitely think there is a point where there is a limit. You can only go so far with your genetic potential, but that's more than the creatine. The creatine's not going to stop that. It's just more of your genetic potential. For strength training, you're only going to get so big unless you're doing the behind the counter supplementations.
Yep.
You're only going to get so strong unless you're getting involved in the behind the counter supplementation. So I would say it's more genetic. You're going to get to a certain point where this is probably about where you're going to get to, unless you're maybe going to do some more heavy stuff. That may not be the smartest thing to do.
Creatine plays a critical role in cellular metabolism. What does that necessarily mean for your body?
Well, it is, especially when you're metabolically stressed. In other words, it could be stress through your sport, your performance in the gym. Let's say you're training 5 days a week. You're going to be stressed, so you need to take more. illness, injury. Injury is another big one where you're going to be metabolically stressed. So you're going to need to increase your creatine level to keep your cellular metabolism rolling. Now, the thing that, why is that? Well, it helps with ATP, your energy. The creatine, having that proper amount or that enough creatine in your system helps with your energy levels, so to speak. So that's kind of a big one right there with the creatine.
I know when I took creatine, I've noticed a lot of course, performance increases when it comes to my sport. My weight went up. My muscle strength in general went up. Now, when it comes to exercising, what are, the benefits to taking it while you're lifting? Because I know creatine is much more effective when you're, exercising or training alongside of it. What are the positive effects to taking creatine while you're getting ready for your sport?
The thing that's pretty cool about the creatine is the studies have been, that's what they've studied about for years, is the performance side of it. And there's no denying how effective creatine is. It's by far the most studied supplement ever. And it's, like I said, it's really, creatine is going to be your most effective within your shorter bursts, so to speak. So basically 1 minute or less of activity. And because it helps with the ATP, resynthesizing your ATP, your energy. So that's what your creatine is why it's so darn important there. And then it helps to lead to the increased muscle mass, enhanced training so you can train harder. And then it obviously helps with the recovery process as well.
Now, when it comes to the ATP that you've been talking about, is that how creatine helps replenish energy? Is because it just helps give the energy?
It's part of the metabolism process. So that's where if we have enough there, it's kind of like a shuttle, so to speak. So it helps with the energy that way.
Now, let's get into recovery and injury prevention, because this is something I didn't necessarily know about. But how can creatine help you maybe reduce the risk of injury or help you recover from injury?
Well, that's pretty cool, is it can help speed up recovery between the intense exercise bouts, which we know because it helps to mitigate or slow the muscle damage, and it promotes faster recovery. So in other words, you can train harder. And then the other thing that it can do is that it can reduce the inflammation. It helps reduce inflammation markers, and then the muscle enzymes following intense exercise, which once again will help to speed up your recovery process. And then it's also important in helping, let's say you have a spinal injury or a brain injury. There's research now that's coming out that shows that creatine can help with concussions, increasing your creatine supplementation, help with concussions and spinal cord injuries, which is unbelievable.
I feel like that's something that not a lot of people know about.
No, it's fairly new. That stuff's fairly new. It's coming out daily now, where you just go do a Google search right now and you'll see all kinds of research showing 10 milligrams of creatine a day will help with your brain health. It's crazy. It's simple to take.
When it comes to brain health, let's dive into the cognitive function.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like creatine monohydrate helps improve short-term memory, intelligence, reasoning in healthy individuals. It helps with, for those for sure that are vegetarians and vegans or diet, they're going to definitely need to take that. It helps with the aging population, stressed populations. I mean, who isn't stressed in today's society where everybody is stressed? And so almost honestly, everybody should probably be taking creatine.
Now, we've talked about a lot of positives. It's time to address the water retention question mark. What does this necessarily mean to your body? And is this something to be concerned about?
The water retention, it's kind of interesting because you'll go through and you will find research supporting it, and you will also find research basically debunking it. I think that you can retain some water. I think it really does depend on your hydration level to begin with. For those people that have good hydration throughout their day, they're probably not going to notice this as much. For the individuals that are not very good with drinking water, probably will have a little more water retention, and then they will have a little more cramping. That's the one thing I can recall when creatine was first coming out. This was years ago. I honestly probably didn't take it until I was maybe in my late 20s when I was training for some Olympic lifting competitions. And I do remember more cramping than I do now. And I don't know, it could have been just lack of water consumption, could have been the product maybe not being as good. You just don't really hear about the cramping as much as you used to.
Now we are going to shelf the production quality conversation for protein powder, because I've noticed that has a big role when it comes to effectiveness when it comes to protein powder. So I'm kind of curious to talk about that in the future, but is there anything else you want to discuss when it comes to creatine before we get moving on?
Well, creatine is honestly, it's a simple supplement to utilize. You get a little container. We carry the Nutridyne product line, which it's a pharmaceutical grade supplement. You're not going to be able to just go to Target and buy this product. Those people that are selling it are typically your doctors, your chiropractors, your physical therapists. I have access to it, so I carry the product. It's actually a local company out of Minneapolis, which I think is awesome. It's a family company, so that's my favorite product line to carry. And so creatine is simple, it's effective. You can go as simple as 5 grams a day. Put a scoop in. I like to use a little bit of cranberry juice with some water just to tone it down a little bit. I don't care for a real strong, juicy taste. So mix it up, drink her down, and you're good to go. And like I said, you can do it multiple ways. I typically go 10 grams in the morning on training days, right when I get up, and then that's it for the day. Otherwise, if it's a non-training day on a weekend, I'll just do 5 grams. It's great. It's a great product.
And to me, I use orange juice is what I use.
Yep, absolutely.
And I know you mentioned something about sugar when it comes to taking creatine. Was that just like a personal thing that you thought might help it go to the bloodstream or whatnot?
Well, it can definitely help to shuttle the creatine to the muscle cells. Just because you're basically going to increase the insulin levels to help to pull that creatine into the cells with that, lightly sugary drink. I mean, you definitely can just do it with water and you're still going to get it there. So it's definitely, either way works.
Yeah, and when it comes to creatine, taking it, I have heard of people complaining about the taste, but that's why I use juice, because it's okay, well, I don't recognize it in the slightest.
Yeah, and there's no taste to it. It just, it's maybe a little bit of grittiness.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing it, you can go 5 grams prior to your workout and then throw 5 grams in a protein shake after. And you don't notice it in the protein shake. I've done that before too. In my opinion, you have to do what you're going to stay consistent doing. And for me, it's early in the morning, right when I'm getting up, I'm getting ready to come into work, and I'm going to take it then because I know I'm going to do it every day.
We're shifting gears. We're going to protein powder. Of course, just like creatine, protein powder is very popular. And basically, it aims to provide convenient protein to support muscle repair and growth. Positive would be it's useful when you struggle from getting protein from food alone. Negative, supplements vary in quality, like I said earlier, and some powders may be high in metals or other contaminants.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the biggest thing with whey protein is the quality of the product. I think you in my opinion, it's something that you're just not going to go to Target and get a quality product. You want to get that from like a pharmaceutical grade type product from that company per se, like a Nutridyne, Designs for Health. There's a number of different companies out there.
When it comes to protein powder, who would you recommend takes it and why?
Well, to be honest with you, probably most anybody can take it. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're a recreation athlete, older individuals, I think it's important too. Just like creatine can be taken by those individuals that are in their 60s and 70s. So you're trying not to lose muscle mass, try to gain a little bit of muscle mass. Same thing with your whey protein. You would want those people to take it. I think some people think that it is a meal replacement. It is not a meal replacement. It is something that you're going to follow up your training with. How
can you avoid just the awful taste of protein powder?
Well, and I think that's where it comes to your product too. I mean, I like the chocolate from Nutridyne. Like, for example, you could blend it with maybe a little bit of milk instead of water. I just mix it with water because I'm going to do it after my workout. here at the gym, so I'm just going to keep it simple and use my blender bottle and mix it up. If you're blending it at home, you could add a couple berries in there, add some strawberries in with a chocolate. It's almost like a chocolate-covered strawberry. You could use vanilla and do all kinds of things. I know you love bananas, Levi, so you could put a half a banana in one and a little bit of milk. It doesn't bother me. I think if I remember right, you didn't care for the flavors for the most part.
I mean, it depends. I feel like the best way to almost avoid the issue of the taste, if you don't like the taste, is, I mean, of course, try different flavors, but also maybe mix in a snack in between drinks, or try to chug a little bit at a time. And over time, you'll eventually finish the drink.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all in one go. So what I would do is just have a little snack with it, and it kind of helps mix in something else with the flavor.
Right. I guess I'm lucky it didn't bother me. I always enjoy the flavor of a good chocolate protein shake, so I'll just slam it down.
Is there any other negatives of protein powder that you can think of, or maybe some cautions?
I don't have any. I really think that that's another product that you can, pretty much everybody can be utilizing, should be utilizing. I think it tastes good. You got to find the right company. I think you want to, like I said, you want it from a reputable source. I mean, that's key. I think a lot of people just tend to go for, that's cheap, I'm going to buy the cheap stuff. Who knows? I mean, you don't know the whole flavor profile. You don't know all the amino acid profiles in those. The ones that I have are hormone-free, grass-fed, dairy cattle that are producing the milk to make the whey. So you want to have a good quality product. That's huge. That is really important when you're doing that. And then, some people wonder, well, how much should I be taking? There's all kinds of formulas out there. Just to keep it simple, I think you're going to want at least 25 to 30 grams, which most of them are. One scoop is right around that 25. I typically will go 50 after a workout, and then it helps me recover, and I'm ready to go for the next workout after.
Something I'm actually very curious about is when it comes to protein, I have seen something in the past, I can't remember from where. When it comes to intaking protein, your body can only handle so much, and then the rest just gets flushed out. Is there a point where you don't need 150 grams of protein a day, or like is there a point where it's like the protein doesn't really affect you because you've already had enough to supply you?
I think there could be that point, but I think the problem is most people aren't going to be even close to that point, because if you look at the research, I mean, you're looking at at least 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. So if somebody's weighing 200 pounds, you got 200 grams of protein. That's a fair amount of protein.
That's good.
So you're probably not going to reach that point anyway. So you're probably, if somebody's going 1.5 grams at 200 pounds, now you're looking at 250 to 300 grams a day. I mean, you're going to utilize it. You're going to be fine. And what'll happen is if you're going to take in more calories than you need, eventually it's going to get stored in the fat cells anyway. So I would say, for the most part, you're not going to reach that level.
Time to talk about caffeine.
Caffeine.
Possibly the most popular, I would say, out of all of these options, because, protein powder, creatine, I would say are most common in athletes. But when it comes to caffeine, you kind of see it everywhere.
Right.
Now, caffeine acts as a stimulant to improve alertness, reduce perceived fatigue, and enhance both strength and endurance performance. Positive is there is evidence for performance benefits. Negative, using it every day will reduce sensitivity, and taking it too late can affect your sleep and recovery.
The negative, when you talked about the doing it all the time and your sensitivity affects it, I mean, that really is true. I think that I've gone through phases where, with coffee, I'm pretty fortunate where I've always just made it my mission where I am going to only have 1 cup of coffee. I just want that little bit of pick-me-up in the morning, and then I can hold on to it. Where, a lot of us out there will, they had a rough night, didn't get sleep, now you have 2 cups of coffee. And now the next day you may have 2 cups. And the third day comes around, like, you have your 1 cup, and you're like, oh man, am I ever dragging? I need that extra cup of coffee. Next thing you know, you're up to a pot of coffee a day. Mm-hmm. So it definitely does minimize the effects if you keep keep bumping it up. Next thing you know, you're too far into it, so to speak. Where I've actually quit coffee for a while. I'll take a month, 2 months, 3 months. The first few days are not fun, but then once you get back into it, it works pretty well. So I think that the biggest thing with caffeine is I think that you want to make sure you don't overuse it.
I believe the absolute max that you should go when it comes to caffeine is like 400 milligrams a day. Typically, I stick to either no caffeine. Sometimes I'll have maybe a coffee at like the dining center at NDSU because they have just a coffee place that's free for everybody if you have the dining pass. And then every once in a while I'll mix in an Alani or Celsius. But when it comes to caffeine, how come you sell it here at the gym? Is there a main reasoning to selling at the gym outside of just like pure popularity? Or
those that are taking it typically are like, hey, I had a long day at the office. I just need a little pick me up to get through that workout. And those are the ones that we want to kind of utilize it for. I do see, especially some of the kids, they kind of tend to maybe every day, it's almost used as a crutch. Oh, I need to have that Alani to help me get through this workout. I'm like, well, you probably don't. It's a mental thing now. It really is just hey, and if you had a long day, you need a little extra pickup, let's give it a whirl. I typically do not like to have an energy drink later in the day. Like right now, I'm having one just because it's Friday and I want a little treat.
Yep.
But I can already feel myself shaking a little bit because I did have a cup of coffee this morning.
Yep.
Like kind of backing up a little bit, talking about coffee. I recall back in the day, I would use coffee as my pre-workout. Mm. I would take, and I was strength coaching at NDSU. I would usually train right around 11 a.m. We'd have a bunch of our kids done, and I'd go downstairs to the lounge area, grab a cup of coffee at 10:30, and drink it, so that by 11 I'm like fired up and ready to go. And so it's kind of interesting. If you've never tried a cup of coffee before a training session, it does work.
Is there any specific benefits to having caffeine before workouts, like when it comes to strength or just performance in general? Because of course pre-workout is very common. You use coffee as a pre-workout. Is there specific benefits from just taking caffeine in general before lifting?
Well, it's just you're mentally going to be more focused, ready to go. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to increase your intensity with a little extra caffeine. I think back, I lived in Minneapolis for a while with a good friend of mine, helping him with his gym, Higher Power Training, and Jason Ivesdahl. And we would always train about 2 p.m. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we were still lifting real heavy. I was in my early to mid 30s, and we used to take an energy drink and mix it with branched chain amino acids. And that would give you one heck of a buzz per se and help you really grind through that workout. Until one time we mixed in, I think it was called a Red Line. I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. Mm-hmm. Took it at like 2 p.m. And I laid down at 10 o'clock to go to bed, and I was wide awake. And I was pissed. I'm like, okay, I am not going to have that one anymore.
Let's see. Red Line.
I honestly don't know if you can buy it anymore. It was insane. I don't know what it had in it, but I had never had one since.
I know you mentioned caffeine as like people using it as a crutch.
Yeah.
What I recommend when it comes to taking caffeine before school or at school is what I did was some days maybe I'd have a Celsius. Other days I would have those Zoas, that's less energy. Other days I would have Bubbler. So I feel like kind of mixing it up a little bit helps you maybe avoid getting reliant on maybe, a 200 milligram type caffeine a day. I think mixing it up is just probably safer.
Oh, sure.
Better thing to do. And I would recommend probably not taking caffeine past 4 to 5 o'clock.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of the system in about 6 hours. So I'd say that's probably good because then you're ready to go to bed after the crash. Yep. If you have a crash.
Well, and caffeine's got a half-life too. So for every hour, you're only metabolizing half of what you have for your milligram intake is. So it takes a while to get the caffeine out of your system.
And let's not forget Diet Coke has caffeine.
Yes.
There's many sodas that have caffeine. So I'd say that's something you got to be aware of. But there's also sodas if you have to have soda at, supper time. Root beer does not have caffeine. So like certain sodas, you can avoid the caffeine. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're just having a drink later in the day. Let's talk about some maybe less common supplements. We have Beta-Alanine. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
It basically delays muscle fatigue in high intensity workouts. Positive would be it allows you to perform high intensity workouts longer, of course. And then a negative would be potentially tingling or pins and needles feeling when taking in larger doses. That's kind of like a pre-workout type feeling is what I've heard of.
It is, and beta-alanine for the most part is in a lot of the pre-workouts. I noticed the dynamic performance drink from Nutridyne that I like to use as one of my pre-workouts. It obviously does have a little bit of caffeine, and it does have 2 grams of beta-alanine. And you get that tingling feeling in your face from it. And so if you're ever wondering why do I get that, it's the beta-alanine.
I know a lot of people do not like
it kind of freaks them out, I think.
The ants in your skin or whatever they talk about.
And the thing with beta-alanine is that really where you're getting your benefits is going to be, it helps with intracellular buffering, the pH buffering, so to speak. So for example, it's really the importance of it is going to be between that 1 minute and 4 minute mark of intensity level. So your creatine is going to help you at the beginning of your exercise intensity, and then as the longer that exercise goes, then the beta-alanine kind of steps in and helps you with the burn. We've all gone through, and let's say we're doing a 90-second interval on the Airdyne bike. We're crushing it right away, the first 30, 45 seconds, and then all of a sudden we start to get the legs are starting to burn and the arms are starting to burn. That's where that beta-alanine can step in and help you keep the intensity up.
Creatine, like we've talked about, already kind of helps you when it comes to the recovery. So if you're already taking creatine, is there any point to really have this beta-alanine?
I guess I don't mind. I like it in the pre-workout. I don't take anything extra of it. So whatever's in the pre-workout, which like I said is right around that 2 gram mark. Is it necessary? Depends on what your goals are. Mm-hmm. I think honestly, like if within the general population, I don't know that most people are training hard enough where they're maybe going to get that benefit of that beta-alanine. I don't know that they're going to push hard enough to get that. That's where a creatine product would be more beneficial for that general person as compared to the beta-alanine. Now, with that being said, if you got somebody out there that still is, I'm going to give it, I'm going to push it, having that within that pre-workout does make a difference.
On to the next. We have branched-chain amino acids.
Branched chains are really interesting, and the thing that's pretty cool about the branched chains now is it's not so much branched chains anymore, or they're more wanting to you need to have your essential amino acids as well. So I've done just branched chain amino acids, and that really helps with your recovery. It helps with the energy. That's probably more actually the energy. Helps to keep your energy levels up. But now the research is coming out, and basically, and there's obviously always been some of the research too, but you want to get also the essential amino acids too. And there's 9 essential amino acids. And so you don't want just the branched chains, you want to get them all. Like now Nutridyne just came out with a product, it's called Core Aminos, and that has branched chains. It has all the 9 essential amino acids. And that's a product that I like to take in the morning as well. Like typically what I'll do is I'll do my creatine at home. I'll come here. I'll mix up a scoop of my core aminos with water, and I'll drink all that before I have my cup of coffee. It's actually superior over branched chains. You want to be able to have the essential amino acids as well.
When it comes to all of these supplements we've talked about, these are, for the most part, the big supplements.
Yep.
This is just kind of scratching the surface. If you go to the MPF website, there is a supplement section, and it kind of takes you through a ton of different potential supplements that you should take, including, many categories like body composition, cardiometabolic health, men's health, women's health, sports nutrition, all sorts of stuff. So make sure you check that out on the website because we are running short on time. We're not going to be able to talk about every single supplement.
Yeah, there's so much information that it's unbelievable. We could have probably broke it down into 2, and maybe as we get into the future, because we skipped over a lot of different things, we could blend in or just dive into each one of them. But the the essential amino acids is another big supplement. It really does. It helps with the muscle protein synthesis and the research. There's just a ton of research that even supports that. And like I said, I'm not talking about let's go just Google essential amino acids. I like to go to PubMed and just kind of dive in and see what they say about that product. And if you don't find any information on that product, then you may want to be a little more skeptical about it.
To finish up, we have multivitamins, of course, very popular. Basically, multivitamins ensure no micronutrient deficiencies, support recovery and general health, and the antioxidants aim to reduce oxidative stress from exercise. Positive would be it's useful when diet is poor or specific deficiencies are identified. And then maybe a negative would be evidence is weak for performance or strength enhancement.
The multivitamins I think are huge. I think they're key. I think it's another product. Once again, I wouldn't just go and say, hey, go to Walmart and buy your daily one a day. The product is just not up to par. I think you want to find a good quality multivitamin through a pharmaceutical grade type product. I like to use the daily, everyday essentials. It's 3 a day. I take 2 at breakfast, and then I take 1 at lunch. And I think that some of the research, when you go to PubMed on a multivitamin, they're trying to say that it's going to cure disease and whatnot. No, it is not going to cure disease. It is going to fill that gap, fill that void. What are we missing? For the most part, we are missing plenty in our diet. We do not eat perfectly. I don't eat perfectly. You don't eat perfectly. You've got to, I really do believe you want a good multivitamin. It's simple, easy to do.
Would be pretty sweet, though, if it could cure cancer.
Right, exactly.
Maybe one day. Like you said, of course, when it comes to supplements, got to make sure you get the right supplement. And like I said, MPF website, if you guys want to get any of these supplements we mentioned or maybe look into other supplements, go check out that category on the top right of the MPF website, and it will help you just get the right supplement, the right brand to ensure that you are getting high quality stuff.
And I think the big thing is kind of in closing here is that a supplement is exactly what it means. It's a supplement. You still have to eat well. If you have a crappy diet and you think that these are going to cure it all, it's not going to happen. You got to work on your nutrition, and then you're going to supplement that with these products. And the other thing that I think is important is just doing it for a couple weeks or a couple days or a month is not going to do it. You have to be consistent with it, and you have to do it every day. Take your vitamin every day. Take your creatine every day. That's where you're going to get your gains and your positive effects from the product, is being consistent with everything like we talked about. It's the same as well.
They're here to aid you and help you, not carry you.
There you go. Well done.
We have reached the ending of MPF Podcast Episode 4. Of course, make sure you guys subscribe. We're here to give you guys good fitness advice every Sunday. Make sure you guys like this video if you enjoyed, and put a comment below of any questions you have, and maybe we'll shout you guys out in the next one. We will see you guys in the next episode.